Okay. Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you. I wanted to take some time and go over pretty much everything you're going to need for this course. First and foremost, please keep in mind what you're signing up for. This is a DLON class. This is a fully online course. There are several kinds of online courses at HCC. There's DLive-C, online with live lectures. So that'd be a class that would meet like on a Monday or Thursday at 9:30 a.m. to 10:45. We'd meet regularly. Still be online, still be you'd be at your home, or you'd be at school, or you'd be anywhere you like, but we still have our classes. You're just online with the classes. This is a DLON course, and therefore in this case we don't have that. We don't have any live meetings where you are wherever you want to be, and then you're watching the lectures, and it's still real time, but again, you're at your house or you're at HCC doing it. So in this case, fully online, no live meetings of any kind, nothing at all like that. It's just pretty much a course where you need to be really disciplined. This is a course then where you have to be disciplined enough to know, all right, with my schedule, I'm going to go online, I'm going to read the book, read the notes that are online, work on the materials at these times, and then be disciplined enough to ask questions regularly, send emails, schedule Teams appointments, and then know exactly when the exams are because they're in my syllabus and be able to go online and take the test. This is a lot of things you need to do where, unlike say a traditional course, you're face to face, and in that case, you're at HCC, in class Tuesday and Thursday again, and from 9:30 to whatever 10:45, I lecture, and then you ask questions. It's nothing like that. It's not as guided as that. So make sure you can do it. You have to be very disciplined in a fully online course. The other kind of online course for HCC would be a what's called a hybrid class, and that'd be a combination of being on campus and then having an online component. So make sure this is what you want. Make sure you understand what you're signing up for. This fully online, no live lectures, no live meetings of any kind. I'm disciplined enough to do the work and then ask questions when I need to. So with that out of the way, then taking a look at the site, start here, this welcome page. I have a getting started page. Actually, even before that, we have these two little links that come from Canvas. This is very nice if you're new to Canvas. It kind of runs you through what Canvas is and how to work with it. Excuse me. You can see then again the video. You can watch it at your own leisure. You won't get tested on this, but it is a nice way to kind of start with Canvas if you're new.
You will learn how to.
Nice job by HCC and the LMS. And then for us, of course, they're getting started. And not to be silly, notice the first two things. Watch the course orientation video, post the announcements, and then watch the course orientation, post the announcements. And then no, seriously, watch the course orientation video. I mean that. I mean it exactly as I wrote it. I cannot tell you how many times I've been lecturing away with students or having this kind of fully online, and then I'll get a student weeks into a course or even a month or more into a course, sends me an email saying, I just don't understand what's going on. I don't understand what needed to do, when things need to be turned in. I'm completely lost. And through the discussion, I'm asking, well, have you watched the orientation video? Yeah, I watched it. Well, what about this and this? Huh? And then as I talk more and more, oh yeah, I really didn't watch it, or I watched it a little bit and it was long, so I didn't quite make it through. I didn't really understand. Don't do that. Watch the whole thing. You're watching it now. Watch the entire video. Rewind if you have to. Make sure you're clear on what this course needs. And then after you're through the orientation video and you feel comfortable with your coming on with the course, then move into the syllabus. Notice what I stated, fully understand, thoroughly and completely read your syllabus. And I mean just that. Go section by section, paragraph by paragraph and read it. Digest it. And then ask questions if you have it. I will go over the syllabus step by step with you in this video. And then check the announcements link. And notice what I stated here as well. Every day, including weekends. You must do that. Things happen all the time. I had a student a few terms ago. It was a DLive-C, so that's one of the onlines that have live lectures. And one of the classes they noted, well, I don't think I should check the announcement tab except for class days. It was like a Monday, Wednesday class, that kind of idea. No, you cannot do that. Things happen all the time, and I have to communicate with you. Now, if it's a specific issue with a student, of course, I'll send them an email. But if it's for the course generally, I have to use the announcements tab. That might happen on a Wednesday evening or a Saturday afternoon. A lot of things happen on the weekend. HCC is open on the weekend, not so much Sundays, but it's open on the weekend. I never know when something's going to happen. So check that announcements link regularly. And even right now, I've already got an announcement for you. You would have seen it, of course. The class orientation video is posted there. But I already have one there for you. I tend to be a rather communicative professor. Now, granted, that varies from term to term exactly how much I need to relay to you. But I do tend to put announcements up. So make sure, again, you check that regularly. Going back to our introductory page then. There is, of course, this files link. Everything you need pretty much for the course is there. I'll show you that momentarily. Of course, the online materials McGraw-Hill. Now, with McGraw-Hill's Connect link, you're really only going to need it if you're using the ebook. Now, right off the bat, understand you need either the physical book, the actual book itself, or the ebook. You do not need both. Whichever one you wish to purchase can be done so at the HCW bookstore. I will come back to that momentarily. And then, of course, like I've said, I've already a couple times, ask any questions you may have. So here is the course general information and my contact information, my email, and then this idea of 24 to 48 hours for emails. This is standard email protocol in the United States. Please, please, please make sure you understand that 24 to 48 hours. But I've had some students, come back to my office and they'll say something like in an email, "Where have you been? I emailed you 2 hours ago and you haven't replied yet." Well, gee, first off, it's none of your business where I've been, but I've actually been in class and this is the first chance I've had to even check email, let alone reply to it. It is not 24 to 48 minutes. It's hours. And then if it's on a Friday, you might send me an email Friday at 5 p.m. I don't even see it until Monday. And so I'll get a student on Monday, I come in, I see the email. "I emailed you Friday afternoon. It's been 2.5 days. Where have you been?" Well, it might be a surprise to you, but faculty do have something of a life. We got family and everything else. So I've been dealing with that. So please remember, this is how email protocol works in the US. I expect you to follow it. Okay, so general welcome page, your announcements. Let's go to the files. We'll spend most of our time in this video here, starting with the syllabus, and I'll come back to lectures in a moment. Okay, so your syllabus is here. Go ahead and open it up. I recommend opening up in a new tab. I recommend that for everything. It just tends to work a little bit better. All right, so there it is, of course, my contact information. Obviously, my office at HCC. I'm at the Maybury campus, my telephone number, and my HC email. I'll show you my office hours in a moment. These course intended outcomes. This is set up usually by a committee and come together and decide. This is typically not one person just saying, "Here's what you're going to do." This is certainly not me saying, "Here's what we're going to do in the class." This is adopted by the college. Everybody who teaches Biology 1 for HCC should be following this. This is what we need to cover. How we cover it, that's academic freedom, but we need to cover this. Generally speaking, Biology 1 is cellular biology. So we start out with basic chemistry, general chemistry, elementary chemistry. Elementary chemistry is not meant to be easy. Go take a course in elementary nuclear physics and come back and tell me how fun that was. This semester, for example, I'm taking effectively elementary orbital mechanics in this new graduate program I'm in. It's going to be a course, let me tell you. I better be brushed up on my differential calculus, vector analysis. I better be ready to go with that. Using vectors, this kind of idea. We shall see. So again, understand that in a perfect world, you'd be walking in my door with at least high school chemistry. It's like modern chemistry, general chemistry 1 and 2, which is the university chemistry, and organic chemistry 1 or 2. And if it was an absolutely perfect universe, you would even have biochemistry before you walk in the door. Really, what you need for this course is biochemistry. Please keep that in mind. If you're going to be a biology major, 2 things right off the bat you need to get sort of instilled. To be a good biologist, you better be good at mathematics and chemistry. Both of them. If you're coming into this field to escape, I want to be a scientist, but I want to get away from math and chemistry, you are in the wrong field. They are primary tools, and you need to make sure you're comfortable with that. I got lucky in my undergrad. I went through pretty much my bachelor's in chemistry before I started my bachelor's in biology. Didn't mean to do it that way, but in retrospect, it was exceedingly useful. But that's in a perfect universe, and yeah, welcome. So we don't have that. Even USF doesn't have that. So if you are not comfortable, at least with general chemistry 1 and 2, and even then organic chemistry would be really nice. And even then again, perfect would be biochem, as I noted to you. Then you in essence have 2 courses in one. You have a biology class and a chemistry class coming your way. You got to be ready for that. Ask questions, that kind of idea. I'll be happy to help you out. So keep it in mind, we're going to start out with effectively biochemistry. Then we're going to move into general cellular function. Then we're going to move into Mendelian genetics, and then finally into molecular genetics. This gets you ready for Bio 2. Bio 2 uses Bio 1. You really shouldn't take a Bio 2 class without a Bio 1 class. But there's a bit of a change. You move into evolutionary theory, organismal biology, and then finally things like ecology. So you're kind of preparing for that, going from looking at the little bits and pieces and then finally spatially scaling up into the Bio 2. So there's a ton to cover in this course to get you at least chemically ready for genetic biology and then finally ready for the molecular genetics on top of that. So it's a lot to do in one semester. Now, this being a fully online course, I don't have lectures that I'm giving to you, so it's easy to get through this stuff. In person, on campus, it is a challenge for me to make it through all this material. There's so much to talk about in a semester. So kind of bear that in mind. There's a lot coming your way. Okay. Now, the syllabus. This is a 15-page syllabus. That's not the longest I've come across. I seem to remember the biggest I had was around 30 or so pages. So, and that was at USF when I was taking a graduate class up there. Syllabi are meant to be thorough. And in this particular case, this comes out of COVID. When the pandemic hit, virtually all across the US, we went from in class suddenly online. Most of us was zero training. Okay, I mean, just welcome to the new world we live in. So I didn't know the difference in that case. I took my syllabi that I've been using for years. They get changed every semester, but it's roughly a 5 or 6 page syllabus that I've had up and about for years now. I just went into online and continued using that. Quickly found out that that wasn't going to work. Probably the biggest request I had from students was, please make your syllabus thorough. You're not in front of us, especially in the DLON. So we really want it to be like dotting your I's and crossing your T's kind of syllabus. So, all right. I sat down and thought to myself, yeah, all right, if I'm going to give a first day lecture, you come to class as the first day, it's like go over syllabus day. What are the things I'm going to talk about? I sat down, I wrote it up, and I ended up with a 15-page syllabus. So because there's so much here, I ended up writing this as well, a table of contents, mainly because I would get questions like, I don't understand how homework works. So I can't find homework in your syllabus. Really? I got a whole section on it. I can't find it. So I wrote this up and homework, why not? There it is. So if you have a question on homework, go to page 6 and read up on homework. And then if you have any questions, let me know. So like anything else, start with a table of contents. COVID. Okay, so first off, please bear in mind, we're not done with COVID. We most likely won't be done with COVID. I don't know when, if ever. And they're talking about this being a repetitive issue we're going to be dealing with for a long time to come. And heck, we're already talking about the new pandemic. There are others coming. They just identified another virus coming out of China again. It's got nothing to do with that, particularly where it was at first identified. That is not COVID, but is causing concern. And we'll see what this one's going to be like. In fact, I even read a paper directly linking climate change with, at least statistically, a greater chance of having more and more pandemics in the future. Oh boy. So we've got a lot coming up potentially, which means kind of buckle up, see what's going to happen in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Which means right now, though, we're still dealing with this one, what comes in the future. And so even as of last week, we had like in-service. And with the in-service, new COVID policies, things are changing out there. States are trying to keep up with that. Scientists are trying to relay the most up-to-date information. And so this is what HCC said, this is what we would like for you to do. And so generally speaking, for the college, they want you to know that if you are at school, at the college, and you start feeling not well, go home. It's okay. Let your professors know. Write them an email. Don't walk to them and say, hey, I'm sick, right in front of their face. I've had that happen before with students. They'll come up to me like after class or something, like 1 feet in front of me, and for the next 10 minutes explaining how sick they've been. That's fantastic. No, they're saying, go home. Keep yourself healthy. Keep others healthy as much as you can. Oh, down here. And then, of course, that's the one here, go home. If you are at home and you start feeling sick, stay at home. Don't come to school. Again, write your professors, let them know what's going on. If you're unsure, if you're getting sick, you might have been exposed, you might start feeling poor, you are strongly advised then to wear a mask. Remember, masks aren't meant to be encroaching on freedoms, not to get into anything political. They're meant to keep you safe. We've known for, a century now, since the influenza of 1918, that masks help. Now, granted, science changes all the time. Even with current COVID, when the Delta variant came out, science was collecting data. We realized pretty quickly that the cloth masks don't work for that variant. So we had to change as we go. It's not a failure of science. It's just welcome to evolution, if anything else. And science collecting data as we go and happy to adjust. So the N95s, those became the model choice, wearing surgical masks, that kind of idea. So it's meant to keep you and others, frankly, alive, to be honest with you. So again, you're advised to wear those masks. COVID. Now, when you get tests, not unusual in science, you might get a false negative. So in that case, bear in mind, even if you got a false result, it might be incorrect. And if you got the fever, a respiratory illness, you'll have a sore throat, you can stay home. We'll work with you. If you actually do have proof of having a flu or a COVID, again, you don't have to come. You're excused for the next 5 days. And we're trying to get you to that I'm feeling better, I'm over it kind of situation. Now, if you've had those symptom reductions and you've been at home for 5 days, then in that case, you're welcome to come back. It's still recommended to wear a mask. Notice HCC says for 10 days to wear a mask. Again, these are the rules that are coming down. If you do have an illness and are quarantined, we will work with you as much as we can for remote options. We will try our best. And I've got 6 classes and possibly even more coming this semester, hundreds of students, but we will do our best to work with you. We want to keep you and others safe. If you miss more than 3 classes, don't have that proof, but doctor's note can be requested. We can ask that. We're trying to keep you and others safe. If you've missed a lot of time and it's actually impacting your grade, either one or, you're allowed to request an incomplete, and you're even allowed to go to the Dean of Student Services. And if you have proof, documentation, and ask for a late drop of a course. You have to have documentation for that. But again, we're trying to work with you. And then, of course, even for professors, we are allowed to request that the class wear masks if they've been exposed. So again, if you come to class, you had the flu, you had COVID, and you get that positive result, we're allowed for the next 10 days to request students to wear masks. Again, these are the rules coming down to the college. It's got nothing to do with me directly or anything like that. College policy. All right, so this might seem a bit odd to you that I have a classroom etiquette in a fully online course, but again, I don't know where you're doing this. You could be in the hallways at HCC, maybe you're at the library at HCC, I don't know. So again, we're just trying to keep you safe, everything like that. So this is pretty much saying when you come to HCC, when you come to a class, that kind of idea, don't be an arse. Just come there, be an adult, and stay quiet, don't be talking loud. If your phone goes off, go outside and answer it, not in the hallway, outside and answer it, that kind of idea. If you are in lectures, make sure you try to dampen those conversations. Make sure you don't come late, you don't leave early, you don't be disruptive, try not to sleep in class. It's always a good idea, that kind of idea. Again, try to be an adult, that kind of idea. Again, this is a bit more for in person, but again, I don't know where you're going to be doing anything, so just kind of bear that in mind. For the materials in the course, now the online classes at the Mabry campus uses this Biology 12th edition by Raven. It is from this publisher McGraw-Hill, and here is the ISBN 13 for you. It's been a long day for me, even though it's Sunday, day before school starts. It's been a long day for me. So now with the bookstore, HCC Del Mabry still has their bookstore, but HCC generally has had their bookstore taken over by Barnes & Noble. That's been a huge changeover to go to Barnes & Noble. It needs a little bit more ironing out. That's not really surprising. That has been some issues, but Barnes & Noble is doing a great job to try to work with HCC, get everything ready. So kind of bear that in mind. Now, you'll note then that if you go to the bookstore, they should have this. They should have both the book and or the ebook. Sometimes they only have the ebook. If you choose to have the ebook, which you can only purchase at the bookstore at HCC, specifically here at the Del Mabry campus, you need that access code to go online and register for the course. I can't help you with that. That's a technical issue, but you need that access code. Now, again, as I was noting, the online are using Raven. On campus uses what's known as the URE. It's Campbell Biology 12 by URE. So if you took, say, Bio 1 online, it was Raven, and then you decide to do Bio 2 in person, you might have a change in textbooks. Kind of keep that in mind. Both books are fine, but they do use different books for online versus on campus. But this is the one that we are assigned to use, scheduled to use, and I'm fine with either one. For attendance, this might be surprising to you that we actually have attendance. How do you do that in a fully online course? But the state wants to figure out a way, so the college did. And there are a couple ways you can do it. You can see here, you're going to have an extra credit quiz on your syllabus. It'll be on the 24th. You must take that. By the 26th, you must send me an email stating your intent to remain in the course. There's going to be a discussion board that we have to deal with, some homework assignments, of course, to deal with. You have a Gordon rule due on the 14th. And of course, you're going to take some exams. So, a fair amount to deal with in a lot of ways that we can kind of keep track of it. If you don't particularly do the syllabus quiz or the email to me by the 26th of this month, letting me know you want to remain in the class, I have zero choice but to remove you for what's called WN. That means withdraw non-attendance. So make sure you do these so I know that you want to stay in the class. Now my office hours, you can see where they are. Mondays, there you go, 11 to 1:30. Notice it's online only. So I'm not going to be on campus on Mondays and actually on Fridays as well. With Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, notice it's 2 to 3:30. I think that's actually your class ends at 1:45. Actually, I have a Bio 1 class that ends at 1:45, not your class, but a Bio 1 class ends at 1:45. So let's say you come down to the Dimebry campus and you want to meet with me. Bear in mind that class ends at 1:45. I may not make it back exactly at 2. Sometimes I get held up, but I'll be back as soon as I can. The reason why I kind of had to squish it in was I'm also an advisor to engineering club, and that usually meets like 3:45, 4 o'clock on Tuesdays and or Thursdays. So I kind of had to wiggle that one in there. So if I am running a few moments late, I apologize, but I'll be there as soon as I can. Again, that's in my office at HCC. You can see my Wednesday hours, 11 to 1, also my office at HCC. There's Thursdays, just like Tuesdays, office hours at HCC. And then Fridays again, just like Mondays, it's 11 to 1:30, online only. So don't expect to see me at the Limerick campus. And I'll be off doing all sorts of stuff. I'm even doing a new graduate class. I'm in a new graduate program. I'm doing another master's. It's actually a master's PhD connection. And it's transferring into space science and aerospace sciences. But it's an extension of my biology. So I'm probably going to be off doing that. It's part of also my professional development at HCC. So because it's connected with HCC, I may not be in my office during the Mondays and the Fridays. So don't just chuck up there saying, well, it's office hours. I don't, you should be there. No, online only. So again, kind of bear that in mind. Now, if you want to meet with me, let's say it's a Friday and I'm not going to be at campus and you might be somewhere else, but you can ask for like a Teams appointment. That's perfectly fine. I have a lot of classes and I have a lot of students, so I usually have a queue of people that want to do Teams appointments. But just send me an email. We'll work out a time. And this is a situation where you can have like a live back and forth discussion where you can ask me questions about the material. We can go over exams, whatever you want to do. Note here, these generally last about an hour to an hour and a half. These are student driven. I'm not saying you have to block out that kind of time, but we'll do what you want. If you want to go to those exams, particularly exams can easily take an hour to an hour and a half, or again, go over, a chapter 3 or whatever it is that you want to talk about. So just let me know and we'll work out those time. If you've never used Teams before, here's a link running you through how to do so. Emails, I already mentioned the bulk of what you need to know, except for one main thing. When you send me an email, please tell me who you are. I mean that seriously. It is not unusual with, I have 6 classes right now, but it looks like I'm going to have maybe 7 or more this term, hundreds of students again. It is not unusual to have more than one student with the exact same name. So I have like 3 Bob P. Smiths in a couple different courses. What's happened before is I'll get an email from Mr. Smith saying, hey, what did we do today? Don't know. I don't know who you call, what class you're in. So I have to send a message back to Mr. Smith saying, well, what class are you in? My experience has been more times than not, I don't get a reply to that message. So you wasted time sending me an email. I wasted time replying because we didn't get anywhere. But let's take the track that Bob replied to me. And he said, oh, yeah, sorry about that. I'm on your D-Lon Bio 1 class. Ah, okay. Well, that was a 3rd email where you told me what class you're in, which means now in the 4th email, I can finally answer your question. 4 emails just to tell you what you should be doing. If you would just take a few moments to say, Bob P. Smith, I'm in your D-Lon Bio 1 class. I have a question about chapter 3, or I wanted to know if we're doing X, Y, and Z. You'll save both of us a tremendous amount of time. So kind of bear that in mind, and don't forget that 24 to 48 hours to get back to you, as well as that weekend issue. Right, so I'm trying to make this as streamlined as I can for you. With all that stuff you need to know, you're studying chemistry and going to cellular biology, and then finally to genetic biology, and then finally to within genetic biology to the molecular genetics. There's so much to know there. So when you read your book, you're going to say, oh my gosh, there's so much here. Yeah. So my habit has been over the years to get notes from the author. It's very thankful to have those. I take the notes and I edit them. I take everything out you don't need to know, put in things that should be there, and of course, I clean up any errors I find. There's almost always errors, which means I have posted lecture notes. These posted lecture notes are in essence a summary of the chapter. And the summary is what you need to know for your exam. So while I'm on that topic, if you go back here and go to files, the syllabus link was obviously there. There's your lectures link. So this would have been all the lectures I would have given to you if you had taken Bio 1 with me on campus. Granted, yes, they used the Campbell book, but same kind of idea. So I don't know, pick chapter, whatever chapter you want, pick chapter 1, that's perfectly fine. So I still recommend open up in a new tab. There you go. So these are the edited PowerPoint notes. I took everything out you don't need to know and put in things that should have been there and cleaned up for mistakes, that kind of idea. So because these are the summaries in essence, you need to know this. You do not need to send me an email saying, what do I need to know for the exam? If it's in the PowerPoint notes, you must know it. Now, here's what I recommend. Start by reading the chapter. You don't have to memorize everything, just get through it. Get a sense of what's going on. And then go into the posted lecture notes and make sure you know them. Ask me questions, that kind of idea. This is a tiny chapter, 27 slides. There should be others that are longer. So why not? Let's pick a chemistry chapter. I think chapter 3 was one, but different books, hard to remember. All right, yeah, it's chemistry. All right, so you go. It's still not that long, 30 slides, but notice it's going right into biochemistry. And there's amino acids. So, we'll talk about protein structure, how to go from primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary structuring, that kind of idea, isomerism, all sorts of stuff here. I mean, you'll definitely be doing that in a lot in organic chemistry. So I'm sure you've seen that too, like enantiomers. I'm sure you've done that mirror imaging idea. If you're taking organic or going to take organic, molecular kits, those model kits, those are a good way to go. So again, these are the edited lecture notes. This is exactly what you must know for your exam. Anything in these PowerPoints is fair game for the exam. Make sure you know it. And again, you can ask me questions. That kind of idea is perfectly fine. Come to my office hours at HCC, perfectly fine. Make those Teams appointments, whatever you wish to do. But make sure you know these. This is why I have those PowerPoints for you. So again, you don't need to ask me what's on the exam. If it's in those PowerPoint notes, know it. For your homework, so I get the question, well, you post everything. Why do I need a textbook? 2 reasons. Technically 3, but 2 good reasons. 1, for your exams, extra credit comes out of the portions of the chapters I don't have in the posted lecture notes. So the stuff I would not have lectured on had you been with me in class. Extra credit, nice to have, yeah? And then your homework. Notice it comes out of these test your understanding, which is in the chapters. And I also noted the answers are in your book. So here's what I recommend you do. When you get to these exams, these little tests at the end of the chapters, don't look back in your book. Don't look at your notes. Just take it like a real test, that kind of idea. You have a question, give yourself like 30 seconds a question. Just answer, and then grade it. See how you do. For any question you get wrong, just write out for me why you got it wrong. I didn't understand it. I didn't know the material. I read too fast. I didn't read the question carefully. I didn't complete the question when I read it. Students do that sometimes. I've done it. You read half the question. Oh yeah, I know it. But the last part of the question changed everything. And then kind of write that out. Now that's for you. You can start looking for patterns as to maybe what you're doing on these practice tests so you don't make those mistakes when you take the real exam. So when I grade your homework, I'm not grading on how many questions you get right or wrong. I'm grading on effort. Did you do the reviews, these practice tests, and give it like the old college try? If you did that, you're going to get all the points on it. This should be a stress-free way to do homework. I'm grading on effort. So really just try the test like a real test. Don't look back in your notes, give yourself 30 seconds a question, and then grade it and find out why you're getting stuff wrong. So you learn the information and you practice so you don't make those mistakes on your exam. When you're done with the homework is due on the day of the exam. So what I recommended is just type up your homework in Microsoft Word and then email it to me to this address from your HCC address on the day of the exam. Now, some students say, well, I don't really want to use Word. So it's been not uncommon. People to write it out like on notebook paper, take a picture of it and email it to me. That's fine. I do not care. As long as I get your homework to this email address by 11:59 p.m. on the day of your test, you're good. And again, I grade on effort. Now, as always in college, no late work is accepted. There are extenuating circumstances. These are the ones I typically work with. If you have something come up that's not one of these, just let me know and we'll talk about it. So there's your discussion board. Yeah, usually on Fridays, I'll put up a discussion for you to do. There might be, some days where it's on a Saturday goes up. It depends on, sometimes Fridays are kind of crazy. So these discussions are meant to help you kind of work with each other, discuss material, that kind of idea. So I'll put up an issue, who knows, maybe I'll put up something like something in organic chemistry talking about, well, maybe medicine and how isomers function in regards to chemicals like compounds work in medicine. And you can discuss that and discuss how it works or why it's a good idea to have an understanding of how this aspect of chemistry works for your later career in biology, whatever it is. And then you can discuss the topic. Now, there's no right or wrong answers in your discussions. You're just talking about whatever I post that week, and you're talking amongst yourself. I'll say, well, here's the subject. What do you guys think about it? And then Mr. Smith again, maybe he says, well, here's what I think about it. And then maybe Miss Smith comes along and answers something. So, well, yeah, I agree with Mr. Smith about that, and here's why. Or no, I respect what you said, but I don't really agree because of. Be polite with each other, and the class can have a discussion on it. There's no right or wrong here. It's just meant to help you kind of grow in the material. Now, this still comes out of the state. Even though this is a fully online class, the state wanted you guys to have some interaction. So this is a way we can do it. So again, look for those for Fridays. Usually they go up on Fridays, and you get all the way till Thursday of the next week to chime in. And you don't have to be long things. I mean, just take a few minutes, read the thing, and then chime in. Read what others have wrote and chime in, that kind of idea. You don't have to spend a lot of time with it. But it can be a really good way to grow in the material. All right, look at that. HEC has elected this course to be a Gordon Rule class. It comes from the college, what they decide. So if you're not familiar with Gordon Rule, that generally either means that you're new to college or you're new to College of Florida. Either way, welcome. Here's what's going on. However, way back when, Senator Gordon, what do you know, decided that college students were coming out woefully unprepared in mathematics and writing ability. No matter what you think, Senator Gordon was correct. Wherever you go, you will always be graded on how you write and how you talk. It's just how humans work. Now, he was talking about math and writing. So in regards to math, that was pretty direct. They would say, well, this is your degree. You have to go to this level of mathematics, college algebra, pre-cal, Cal 1, Cal 2, whatever it is. Writing was more challenging. They really only had two choices. Make you take like English 3, or what they chose here is called writing across a curriculum. There's a couple of downsides to this, however. First, I'm not an English professor, and that's a disservice to both of us. How am I supposed to function as an English professor when I don't have a degree in English? I took courses in English, sure I did, just like you did, but I'm not an English prof. And then on top of that, what am I supposed to teach you? Take, again, biology directly. What kind of writing and biology do I teach you? Undergraduate writing is nothing like graduate school writing, and graduate school writing is more like what you do as a professional. So again, what exactly should I be sort of imparting onto you? For example, if I'm going to write a research paper, let's say I decide I do something like, I don't know, Cnidarian biology, and I want to put it in the Journal of Marine Biology and Ecology. Okay, so I have to go to the Journal of Marine Biology and Ecology, go to the instructions of author, one of their issues, read exactly how they want me to write my paper. How do they want it formatted? What kind of sections do they want? Everything all the way down to even something like, is it a single page notation or a split page notation? How do I cite my sources? All of that has to be in the instructions of author. And then I write out my paper and I send it to the journal and hopefully publish. But let's say I'm not. So I say, okay, the Journal of Marine Biology and Ecology didn't accept me. I'm going to try the Journal of Ecology. Great, it's an entirely different journal. So I have to go to the Journal of Ecology now, look at their instructions to author. Might have to reformat the entire paper, recite all the sources over again, and then resubmit. It's not standardized. There's no such thing as like APA and MLA, and that's how it works. That is just not reality. Sorry about that. So this becomes complicating, to say the least. Because of all that, I read the law, what the state wants, and try to make it as user-friendly as I could. So all I'd like for you to do between now and your turn-in date, so I've got a block in my way, the 14th of November, is to find two papers that relate to each other and have reference to Bio 1. So it's got to be something dealing with like cellular biology. So for example, this new graduate program that I'm starting, actually, it starts in 1 week for me, most likely with that orbital mechanics class. But it's astrobotany is going to be the area. So it's a combination, in my case, of biology and geology is really what I'm going towards. The professor I'm going to work with, she is a geologist. My doctoral area was geology, so sinks, and my biology comes to bear on that. So this should be a lot of fun, I hope. Well, okay, does astrobotany relate to Bio 1? Absolutely it does. So because I'm selfish, why not? I just plopped into Google astrobotany. It took 0.27 seconds to get 397 results. Now, that's not really many, 397. Earlier today, I was doing a orientation video for environmental science class. It took it 0.55 seconds, and I had 40 million possible results pop back. So it all depends on what you Google, right? And so I saw this, and I kind of looked through it, and I was kind of scanning. Oh, hey, this is kind of interesting. And does it relate to Bio 1? So I pulled it up. Now, if I may say, nothing against the magazine. Scientific American, that is not a top-tier journal. I would never, generally thinking, I would not be citing Scientific American in a research paper that I would be publishing. Nothing against them. Maybe something will come out, but this is more like popularized science. Nothing wrong with that at all. You just got to kind of know your tiers. But for a Gordon rule, yeah, this is perfectly fine. And so it's kind of skimming through the article. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And this is actually a bit of what I'd be doing most likely for my research. We're not looking to go and collect lunar regolith, but in this case, the professor has a little bit more interest in asteroid regolith. So yeah, cool. And that makes more sense only in that the moon is the moon. It's great. And it's hard enough to get to the moon. I mean, that's technologically an amazing issue. Yes, we went to the moon. But with that, you're going to an asteroid. Let's say you're going more of a long-term space flight, even just to Mars, you got to deal with these things. A little bit more of a general, they're just out there kind of idea and collecting from that as opposed to something very specific. But with this article, they were talking about that. And so I was kind of skimming through it saying, oh, this is interesting. Does it have anything to do with Bio 1? And as I got down a little bit further, yeah, they started talking about germinating crops and how to grow the crops. And then with that germination process, how it can relate to not just nutritious material, but of course the feasibility of growing this, in this case, in a lunar environment. Well, that's perfectly Bio 1. And in fact, you should have a lab in Bio 1. I would assume both online and in hang on, it's chiming at me. Don't know why. Hopefully my computer is still recording. But it's really quite a fun little lab where you're germinating buckeye peas, if I recall correctly. And so as you germinate those buckeye peas, you see processing of like photosynthesis and how you have to have time, of course, for the leaves to grow and the roots to grow, photosynthesis to take place. Well, obviously seeds are doing something else before photosynthesis, and that would be cellular respiration. So it's still very much a Bio 1 topic, even though they're not talking necessarily directly about cellular function. So pretty cool. And yeah, this will work fine. So there you go. There's an astrobotany paper that will work. Now, in this case, with the Gordon rule, you'd have to find 2 papers that relate to that and then talk about them. Here's what I want: a summary of the articles. And that might seem a bit high schoolish, but there's a point to that. For a lot of scientists, one of the most difficult part of the paper to write is the abstract, pretty much a summary where you're taking all this research you've done and you crush it down into a paragraph or 2. That is not easy to do. So you are working on that skill. Compare and contrast the articles, how are they similar, how are they not, that kind of idea, and then your views on it. But notice what I said, your thought out, well-reasoned views, not just a I didn't like it and leave it at that. Why? And by this point, you're pretty much done with the class. The final's like on the 30th of November, really early this year. So you should be able to articulate your position by that point. And then you should before that, 2,000 to 3,000 words. This came from the department, to make it kind of more meaty. So there you go. And then cite your sources. I don't care which one you use, AP or MLA. Remember, that doesn't really apply to science, but because it's just a Gordon rule paper, pick whichever one you like. Now, I did have some students in the past saying, yeah, remember, we want it to be specific. So, okay. So hopefully you like this, that I asked for it to be typed, double-spaced, times in room of font, size 12, and 1-inch margin. Hopefully that's specific enough for you. And then one last note on this pretty much. I had a student a couple terms ago, got really grumpy with me saying, yeah, this isn't fair at all. You should tell us what to do. Are you joking? You're in college. This isn't high school. By this point, you should have the ability to pick a topic. So I found that to be an unfortunate discussion. So I'm not going to tell you what to do. And in fact, when I was in high school, I didn't like that. I didn't like when a teacher said, you're going to do this. Oh man, I don't want to do that. I don't like that topic. I'm not doing that to you. I think you should have the freedom to pick what you want to do, so long as it relates to Bio 1. And I gave you different areas, and there's astrobiology, which of course you can connect to astrobotany if you wish, just like I showed you. Bacteriology, biochemistry, biophysics, biotech. Biotech would be really easy to do on that. Cell bio, really easy to do. Ecology, evolution, biology, genetics, histology, invertzo, medicine, nutrition, genzo, mycology, phycology, physiology, vertzo, virology. There's so many different areas you can go with this. As long as it relates to Bio 1, you're good to go. Now, for the sources you pick, they have to be published, which means you must come from a .edu, a .gov, or mainstream media. When I first put that in, people were asking me, what does that mean, mainstream media? Things like this, ABC, CBS, CNN, Fox News, NBC, that kind of idea. Just as I'm noting here, please don't forget that news sources have bias. And since they have bias, kind of keep that in mind. Like CNN, I can highlight it, there you go, tends to lean left. Not always. I've read some right-leaning papers on CNN. And Fox News tends to lean right, but not always. I've read some left-leaning papers on Fox News, but just keep in mind that it's not uncommon for news sources to have bias. It's very appropriate, especially in biology, for published papers to be less than 2 years. Can there be cases where it's older than 2? Yeah. I had a student a couple years ago who actually wanted to read a book, a full book, and write about that. Far more work than I was asking for, but they were concerned about the dating again. It was written, 10 or 15 years ago. I know of the book. Yeah, sure. Why not? Knock yourself out. Again, it was much more work than I was asking for. So there are times when this is perfectly valid to be older than 2 years. Just ask me if you're unsure. Because I'm asking for it to be published work, that means no anecdotes, interviews, movies, that kind of idea, and no late papers. But don't forget, especially if you're new, please understand, Gordon rule is a state law. And if you read the state law, it clearly tells you that if a student does not pass the Gordon Rule portion of a Gordon Rule class, they automatically fail the course. It doesn't matter what you've done in the class. You can ace every exam in the course. If you don't pass the Gordon Rule part of the class, you do not pass the class. And even in our in-service last week, the administration HCC was reminding us all again, they don't pass the class. So please don't mess around with this. Make sure you do it properly. And again, don't turn it in late. If you do, you better have a good reason. These are the most common reasons, but if something else happens, just talk to me. Examinations. There will only be 4 exams in the course. And of course, because it's online, you'll be taking it through Canvas. There's a link on the right side of your Canvas page. It's Canvas quizzes. I'll show you that in a minute. That's where you'll be taking your exams. Now, Canvas requires, not suggests, requires you do your work, your exams, on a desktop or laptop. No iPads or slates or phones or anything like that. You must use Google Chrome and everything must be updated. Your computer, operating system, browser, the whole works. Remember, when you take the exam, you can't use books, notes, calculators, that kind of idea. Don't do that. And if you have any technical issues during the test, I cannot help you. I can't go into a computer system and say, well, yeah, there you go. That's the problem. I cannot do that. Professors don't have that kind of ability. We don't have those administrative rights. So like I'm noting here, if you're having a technical issue, you must go back to Canvas and right here, this little icon, you can see that little question mark and help. That's Canvas technical support. You have to talk to them directly. So if you're in the middle of the exam and something happens, talk to them right away. Now, if something again major happens like an internet outage, you better document that, verify it. And it can be checked. I've already caught a number of students over the years who have cheated this way. Don't do that. If you cheat and I find out you're lying, you're going to fail the test. And if you actually have cheated, you're probably going to fail the class. Don't do that. Don't play games because these things can be checked into. Now, the dates of the exams are in a tentative schedule. I'll get there in a minute. On the day of the exam, I will open the exam at 9 a.m. You have until 11:59 p.m. to take the test. When you take it, oh, this is wrong. You get 75 minutes, not an hour and 40 minutes. I apologize. I have to change that. I'm keeping it the same as the face-to-face. That should be 75 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes, not an hour and 40 minutes. I apologize. I will correct that. But you get 75 minutes. So make sure then you give yourself enough time. You don't want to start the test so late in the night that you only have 15 minutes to get it done. Don't do that to yourself. Now, once you start the exam, whether it's at 9 a.m. or 10 p.m., you must take it in one sitting. You can't start it, stop it, and come back. Nope. Now, again, I don't care when you take it in this, but remember, if you have any technical issues, you got to go to Canvas. If you started it at 10:30 at night, I'm probably already asleep. I got to be up like at 5 in the morning every morning. So again, I can't even help you with technical support. I probably wouldn't even see the email again until the next morning. So make sure you are understanding how these tests work. We'll get to disability notes in a minute, but by state law, I cannot extend test time unless you have something in a disabilities note. But I'll come back to that in a minute. Also, my exams are typically this long. Please understand that. You're hearing this on day 1 of the course. Don't get grumpy halfway in the class. At the end of the class, oh, these tests are too long. I cannot stand it. They're too hard. Really? The questions on your exam are very much like the questions you're going to see in those quizzes at the end of your chapters. So you know exactly the level of rigor, how hard your questions are going to be by doing the homework, and you know how long your exams are going to be. And you know it on day 1 of the class. If you don't like it, find another class. Now, there are reasons why I have it this long. You have a lot of information coming your way. Years ago, I found out rather quickly that if I give a 30-question test and you had all that information, 150 slides, 200 slides, especially bio 2, that can easily happen. And you're like, well, we had 200 slides we had to know for this exam and there were only 30 questions. People were really mad. I studied all that and wasn't even there. Okay, so I made my test longer. And there are some distinct advantages to this. Not just it's more representative of what you studied, but also there's greater opportunity for extra credit on longer exams and more wiggle room for you on the test. So let's say out of this 100-question test, you got 15 questions wrong. All right, 85. Still a B, not bad, yay? But if you only had a 30-question test and you got 15 wrong, obviously you failed the test. Much more wiggle room and a longer exam. There are reasons why I did this. But again, if you don't like that, I understand. You know on day 1 of the course, find a different professor. Don't get grumpy and try to level it back on me later on because you made a bad choice. But there are advantages to this. Same with time management, by the way. You have 100 questions to do in 75 minutes. Can you do it? I wasn't teasing about that 30 seconds a question when you do the reviews at the end of your chapter. I meant that seriously. Don't be the luxury of taking 5 minutes per question. You don't have that kind of time on your exam. Get ready for that. Assuming things like the GRE hang around. Now, if you're not familiar with the GRE is the SAT to grad school. Last time I took the GRE, I got, what was it, 60 questions, 20 minutes. Just a question every, 15 seconds? Can you do that? And not only that, the test I took was computer adaptive, which means if you were getting questions right, you got harder questions. Oh boy. Welcome, welcome. So there are distinct advantages for tests like this. Now notice, when you're taking the exam, you get to see them one at a time, the questions one at a time, and you can't go back. There are reasons for this too. There's been a lot of discussion how to do online examinations, and this is what's considered to be the most appropriate. You are, of course, free to make those Microsoft Teams appointments. If you want to go over the exams, just let me know. And I don't give makeup exams except under extenuating circumstances. And if you do get one, you're most likely going to get an oral exam because that's what's most fair to your colleagues. But I'll work with you if I can. Grading. I use a point system, and you can see here how much everything's worth. So exam 1's 50%, exam 2 is 15%, homeworks are 5%, that kind of idea. There's your Gordon rule down there. And I gave you an example. Now this is a fake student, a fake class, just to show you how it works. So notice with this fake student on exam 1, they got 63 points out of 70. They got a 90% on the test. That's 15% of the grade. You can see it right there. 15% of the grade was a 90%. Great. Exam 2, 72 out of 84 points. They got an 85.7. That's also 15% of the grade. So there you go, 15% times 85.7 and so forth. All the way down. Notice with the Gordon rule. It's a fake student, so why not? I took some points off. Who knows? Maybe they forgot to do a literature cited or something like that. So all right, 15 out of 20, that's 75%. That's 20% of your grade. So there it is, 20% of your grade, 75%. Tally up all the points, and you can see what this fake student got. Now, I purposely did that just to highlight the fact that being a scientist, I like mathematics. Because of that, I follow the rules of mathematics. So if I'm allowed by the rules of mathematics to round up, I will. So this student, this fake student in my fake class got a fake A. Great fake job. But I'll also apply that to your overall grades. Sure, still rules of mathematics, eh? So 89.5, 100 is an A, 79.5, 89.4 is a B, and so forth. I will always round up if I'm mathematically allowed to do so. Remember though, if you cheat, you get an F in the course. So please don't do that. Again, it might seem a bit odd having this in a DLON class, fully online class, but I don't know where you are and where you're doing things. But this is college policy, including how recordings work in courses. Talking in class again, I don't know where you are and where you're doing things. If we're having some sort of like group session for some reason, again, it's just being polite, it's etiquette, that kind of idea. Extra credit, as I noted to you, will be on your exams. It is not considered appropriate to ask for extra credit, even demand it. I've had that happen before. It's our discretion. And again, you'll see it only on your exams. But remember, it comes out of your readings. The portions of the chapters I do not have time generally to lecture on, so you don't see them in the posted lecture notes. As I noted earlier, please don't forget to check your announcements. Check them every day, including weekends. And then your important notes. I don't mind teaching Bio 1. Now, granted, this case, DLON is a bit different game, but I don't mind it. But I'm not a cellular biologist. My area is biology, yeah. And within biology is botany, ecology, and zoology. And then I transitioned later on into geology and now space sciences. But even so, for either side, especially in Bio 1, it's not uncommon to get medical questions coming my way, but that's not my area. I am not now, nor will I ever be a medical doctor. It's just not my cup of tea. So it's inappropriate to try to make me into your personal medical doctor, which means, if you send me an email or you come to office hours, please don't ask me personal medical questions. I would strongly recommend you find a board certified doctor to ask those questions to. If you miss class for whatever reason, maybe you get sick. I hope you don't, but maybe something like that happens. You get the flu or something. When you're ready for more schoolwork, you don't need to send me an email saying, well, what do we do? Start by going in your syllabus, go into your book, go into your notes, read the material in the course. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any disabilities, I've given you all the contact information here. As I was noting earlier, you can't just send me an email saying, I need this for a test. Like I need 3 hours for an exam. Okay, but by state law, I cannot do anything for you. I can only help you, again, by state law, if you talk to the disabilities office first. So here's all the contact information. They're very nice people. They will send me paperwork. It can't come from you. And if that paperwork says, yeah, they need to have 3 hours for the exam, okay, then I will give you 3 hours for the exam. I've got no problem with whatever they send me. It just has to come from this office. This is a bit of a unfortunate one. I'll show why in a minute, but it's also very good that it's here. And it's pretty darn amazing. HCC is actually contract with Baycare for free counseling services. This is actually incredible, especially at the community college level. It's a pretty messed up world we live in. I mean, pick anything, everything from school and work and money and relationships and how stressful that is. Then on top of that, a pandemic. Then on top of that, inflation. Then on top of that, wars. My goodness, there's so much going on. It is not unusual that at some point in your life, you're going to need to talk to somebody. That's very common. Bear in mind, in the United States, it is now considered a mark of health to talk to somebody when you need to. Shouldn't be carrying those stigmas anymore. So this again is amazing that HSC has these free counseling service for you to talk to somebody and talk about whatever you need to talk about. This would be massively expensive if you didn't do it through something like HCC, a college, and certainly if you didn't have health insurance. And that's the sad part. I've got a friend who's going through this. I met her a couple of years ago. In 2020, I think it was. She was admitted to an inpatient center for pill addiction, and she has struggled greatly with that. And she was telling me later that just that first place she went to, she was there for about 2 weeks. She spent $150,000 US for 2 weeks. My goodness. And she's now been to 3 inpatient centers. And then on top of that, she has a psychologist and a psychiatrist. She's doing all of that with health insurance. I don't know how she's doing that without health insurance. She's easily in the many, many hundreds of thousands of dollars now. That's how expensive things like this can be. And this is free through Baycare and HCC. Absolutely incredible that we have that for you. Use it if you need to. Remember, consider it a mark of health to speak to somebody when you need to. Connected to this idea, the Speak Up HCC is an idea that if you hear somebody that's threatening themselves, threatening the college, threatening you, threatening your colleagues, this gives you an avenue to say, oh my gosh, be aware. It's meant to help everybody. It's meant to help the person that might be hurting themselves or maybe hurting someone else, keeping again you safe, your colleagues safe, everybody safe. And it has worked. I've seen it work. I've seen it directly. I had a student a couple of years ago in my environmental science class. He wasn't threatening me, from my understanding, but he went and directly threatened the dean and the college. It was later noted to us that he had a medical issue, a mental health issue, was not appropriately tending to it. And so HCC stepped in, got him the help he needed. He was apparently gone for a couple semesters, but then he got what he needed, came back to HCC and continued on its way. That's what it's for. It's meant to help everybody, including that person, get the help they need so we all, including them, can continue on with our lives, healthily continue on with our lives. The equity statement, yes. So this is noting that whenever you go to HCC, whatever class you take at HCC, should be a comfortable and inviting experience. I notice for anything, there's noting race and color, gender, religion, national origin, age, disability, sexual orientation, marital status, gender identity, gender expression, veteran status, whatever it might be, whatever you're doing at HCC, you should feel comfortable. If something is happening and you don't feel that, you don't feel welcomed, you don't feel safe, talk to us. We'll help you out. All right, that gets us to the tentative schedule. I used to have just schedule. And then it was like 19 years ago. And then it was quickly pointed out to me, oh, no, you can't do that. You must say tentative before schedule. Oh, why? I see why. Because anything could happen at any time. Like, I don't know, pandemic. Fire, storms, those little things called hurricanes, threats, emergencies, whatever it is. And that might get in the way of the schedule. So there we are. Obviously, orientation, there you go, 8:15. So the science of biology, there's chapter 1 and chapter 2. There's your quiz on the 24th. Remember to send me that email by the 26th. Is that email letting me know that you want to see in the class? And then chapter 3. Now these dates for the chapters, chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3, those are just suggestions. You still must take the quiz on the 24th. You must send me the email by the 26th. But these chapters, you can do them whenever you like, as long as you have them done by the first exam. Same with your second unit. All of these chapters, these dates are just suggestions. I was just trying to give you a way to stay on track. I don't care when you do them. as long as you have them done by the second exam. Same with the third exam and same with your final. Now, in the third unit, notice that's when your Gordon rules due again. It's due on the 14th. And then for your final itself, it is not cumulative. It's just these last chapters, 15, 16, 17, and 18. You can see when it's happening. And just like your other exams, they are due to be completed by 11:59 p.m. So with those quizzes again, they call them quizzes in Canvas, but these are your exams. So notice you can see they're not available right now, but there's your first exam on the 7th of September. It opens at 9 a.m., closes 11:59 p.m. You could take it whenever you want. You get that 75 minutes. Remember, when you start it, you got to complete it. You can't stop and come back later. And then your second exam, for some reason, it stuck it down here. Don't know why. It wouldn't let me move it either. But October 19th, third exam, I thought it was October. Where'd it go? No, November 4th, excuse me. And the last exam, of course, on November 30th. That is your last test, your final. So they're all there in the quizzes. On the day of the exam, like the first exam, you go to it. At 9 a.m., it'll say open. You'll click on it, take the test. And whenever you're done, that kind of idea. Hang on a second. Canvas is there it goes. Okay, go back to your syllabus. All right. And with that, the last thing I have for you here are the frequently asked questions. These are the questions I get again and again and again and again. So I'm trying to save both of us a little bit of time. Read through this, and then if you still have questions, feel free to let me know. Right, so that's your syllabus. So even if you go back to the files link, that's all that's there, the lectures and the syllabus. Now this little transcript, this came from HEC. This is just what they feel people who are going to succeed on online, these are the things they do. It has nothing to do with my course specifically. You're not getting tested on it, but it's just something that HEC thought you might be interested in. Grades are just that. McGraw-Hill Connect again. Once you have the access code, which you can purchase at the HEC bookstore, then you register. I can't do anything for you on that once you have the access code. If you have any issues, you must talk to McGraw-Hill technical support. But you'll have something like this. This is obviously the teacher view. You go to the Connect section. You get a lot of information, but of course, right now we're looking at the book. There's your ebook. And wonderfully slow. There you go. There's your book. The physical book, the ebook, they're identical to each other. As I said earlier, you need one or the other. You do not need both. You need either the physical book or the ebook. I don't care which one you get. It should be the same either way. And then just to have it in case you need it, I also included for you the link to the library. Probably make me log in, but yeah, I don't need to do that. Yeah, there you go. But still, it's your link to the library. Right, so there you go. There's your course in a nutshell. Now, remember, this is a fully online class. A lot of this comes onto you. You've got to be disciplined to follow the syllabus, read your book, read your notes, ask questions, do those reviews, do it like I explained to you. Then ask me questions, set up Teams appointment if you want, that kind of idea. Fully online, so make sure this is what you really want to do. Beyond that, it is lovely to meet you. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Have a good day, everybody.